All right, I think we can do this. Hey, good to see you guys. Woo! You ready for a little talk? You can have eyes and they can see fine, right? And everything looks good. But yet there could be a fog, and that fog is what a lot of you guys have been through, which is the health movement. And the medical system too. Not forget that. There's some fog in there. And you got good eyes, you can see, but all these things are there, and they become this thick fog. All the different trends, all of it. Everything from what? Charcoal, colostrum, the list goes on, right? I can name off 100 things, but we'll just talk about some other things too. But it becomes like this fog that gets in the way. And maybe that's no big deal for someone who feels fine. Maybe no big deal at all for somebody who just maybe needs to drop a couple of pounds, maybe feel less sluggish. But when you're somebody that's been really sick and really struggled for a long time, 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, 6 months can be a long time. That fog can seem death-defying. It could seem depressing. Something that holds you back. You got eyes and you can see fine, but that fog can really get in the way over time. And maybe you guys experience this. So when you're chronically sick and you've struggled for a while in your life, it becomes like doors that end up closing on you. It becomes a lot of confusion. It's easy to get lost. And I was told about that when I was young and I was a kid. I was told about that from Spirit of Compassion because all I wanted to do was just go fishing in a pond, ride my bicycle, hop on my skateboard. That's all I wanted to do. Also go in nature too as well. But Spirit of Compassion would say, well, we have bigger things to do. We have more important things to do. There's a lot of people out there that need something. And you know, when you're 6, 7 years old, 8 years old, that becomes a strange sound in your ear because it really doesn't make sense. Like, what do people need? What does it matter? And Spirit of Compassion told me that someday there's going to be a lot of people out there. They're going to be very sick. They're going to be lost. They're going to be in a fog. And you're going to have to help them see differently. You have to help them see things that actually can change their lives. Move them out of that darkness, out of that fog into the light of healing. I heard that when I was 7, 8 years old. And it was the most foreign, strange words I've ever could imagine to hear at 7 years old. It took a little while to care because I didn't want to care. I cared about animals. I cared about birds with a broken wing. I cared about frogs with a broken leg. I cared about caterpillars, dragonflies. I would get so sad when a dragonfly seemed weak and something was wrong. I would try to give it water and revive it. And what happens along the way when you're young like that and you're hearing this information, you want to kind of avoid it. But Spirit of Compassion said you have to care with everything you have. You have to care. And so I did everything I could to reach deep when I was young. And Spirit of Compassion said, the same way you care about animals and the same way you care about dogs and cats and birds and turtles, you have to care about people. So at 7 years old, I was like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. I have to care about people. I have to see what's going on. And I wasn't sick. And I say it all the time, unless you've been sick and walk in someone's shoes, will you ever know what it feels like? Being that I wasn't sick, that was the next hill to climb for me. Because Spirit of Compassion said, somehow, some way, you have to know what it feels like. You're going to have to experience it in your consciousness in some way. You're going to have to make that connection to someone suffering. Just because you're not there and you haven't suffered like that physically at a young age doesn't mean you can't connect and make that connection. I remember seeing a wounded turtle that was hit by a car. It was still alive when I was young. I did everything I could to save it. I couldn't save it. Was too injured. Shell was just fractured. It was weak and weakening fast, but I did everything I could. And I begged Spirit of Compassion to send down light. And I sent that light with Spirit of Compassion into that turtle through me and also to the turtle direct, just like the light blast. And we kept that turtle alive for as long as we could, a lot longer than it ever would have, because it should have passed probably within a half an hour, and it was alive for weeks. But that turtle still passed away because it was run over by a car so badly. But that was the moment right there when I was like, okay, I'm awakened. We have to save people. We have to keep them alive. We have to recover them. We have to bring them back. No matter what happens, we need to do that. And at 7 years old, I made the connection, and that's when I was reborn. I wasn't the same person as I was when I was 4 years old or 5 years old or 1. It was a rebirthing for me to make the connection to somebody who is suffering and struggling. But that was that level now that I had to meet up to, which means I had to now live with that. That means that all through my days, it's all I thought about. It took over my mind, my consciousness, and every time I had a hard time with it about suffering and people suffering, as Spirit of Compassion was telling me, this person has brain fog, and the term brain fog didn't exist. Didn't exist. This person has neurological Lyme disease, did not exist. This person has this person has that. It didn't exist. Hearing these words, hearing what was wrong with people, then connecting that to the suffering and remembering about that turtle that was suffering and making that connection, probably one of the most difficult things in my life. But I had to get over these humps, and I had to live with it. I would go out into the woods when I was younger alone. I would sit out there and fall asleep on the ground next to a little campfire, some rocks I would have there that got really hot with the fire around it. And I would, every time I heard some twig snap or break, I would say to Spirit of Compassion, Sasquatch? Spirit of Compassion would say, no Sasquatch. A frog, a toad. But I would be in nature, and I had to be there to decompress at a young age, to lift off that pain and suffering in the moments, because I was taking it on. I took it on at a young age, people's pain and suffering, and it would fester, and I had to learn how to cycle it through, learn how to understand it, learn how to process it. And guess what? Nobody cared. Nobody cared. My parents did, but nobody in the world cared. They don't care about the chronically ill, and I learned that at a young age. Nobody cared about the chronically sick. Oh my God. If you've been sick for 30 years or 30 years ago, you know they care now because it's clicks and likes and all that bullshit, and then sell whatever you're going to sell to the chronically sick because boom, cha-ching, cha-ching, the industry changed completely now. But back then, nobody even cared about anything with the chronically ill. So here I was, young, a child. Okay, I care. I feel it. I understand it. Nobody cares. And then I hear this voice that's teaching me all these different things about why people are sick, and then the connection about suffering and struggling, and then realizing, just like I heard tonight, someone's driving now who couldn't drive before. That simple little thing, how important that is. Losing that freedom to drive. Losing the freedom to even talk. So many people have been there. And then connecting to that, understanding that. My job all these years has been, you have to know what that's like in some way. You have to understand it. It can't be just words from Spirit of Compassion. I have to connect with it. And that's what drives me. That's how I get up in the morning. And that's what drives me every single day. My life has passed by like this, like that, because of Spirit of Compassion. All I've heard is a bunch of scrambled eggs going into my ear about every illness and every symptom and every disease and everything else. And it's made my life kind of go by like this. But guess what? It was worth it. How many people healed? How many people healed? How many people recovered throughout the years? The fact that we're in here in Cafe Gratitude in LA blows my mind all on its own. I can't even believe it. Can't believe it. You know, I've talked about 3 steps up. You guys have heard that from me, probably broken record. There he goes, 3 steps up, 2 steps back, right? What does it even mean, right? You ever think about that? You guys know what it means, though, right? You're moving forward, then you're kicked back a little bit. Scared shit. You get kicked back a little bit. And then, but you're further than you were. You're further than you were with your symptoms. How powerful is that? The healing process is exactly that. It's a few steps forward, 1 step back. A few steps forward, 2 steps back. That's how it works when you heal. Even if it doesn't feel that way sometimes, you are still healing. You are still healing. I think one of the problems in the natural health world right now, to this day, right this second, is they still don't know why anybody's sick. I hear it every day out there. This person knows this. This expert knows this. This person knows this. This professional knows this. But at the same time, none of them know why anybody was sick. What happened when you found out why you were sick? Did anybody in here find out why you were sick? Did you ever find out why? When you find out why you became sick, it's half the battle. I talk about that. The other half is now just doing the right tools and moving forward, right? And doing that and healing. The world of chronic illness and the world of natural health is still in the dark ages. Still in the dark ages. And when you find any kind of resistance out there towards medical medium information, like censorship and social, not a lot of comment here, not a lot of comment here, getting kicked off of here, whatever it is, means you're in the right place and you're doing the right thing. Because we're advanced information is what we are. It's not what people think. It's the opposite of what's happening out there. It's the advanced information is what it is. And that's why sometimes it can feel like, oh my God, am I the only one doing this medical medium stuff? Or, oh my God, why is everybody on my ass about it? How come people are saying, why are you eating that way? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? But it's advanced. It's ahead of its time. It still is. It's timeless. It's in your hands. You have it. And you know what's going to really piss you guys off? Down the road, You guys are going to be like, I was doing that already. I already knew. It's going to piss you off. Especially when little tidbits are being poached left and right. You already knew. You're already doing it. Every time you bump into a wall and you think justice isn't there or you're not being heard, God hears, God knows. How many of you guys have had dogs and cats that have passed away? How many of you got dogs and cats now? Someone back there on the red carpet talked about that. Are we going to see our dogs? Are we going to see our cats? Are we going to see our pets when we leave here 100 years from now, 80 years from now, whenever it is? And yes, we are. They're going to be waiting. Now, I can say that not as a psychic that's just saying it because people want to hear it or something. Spirit of Compassion told me that years ago. That when you leave here, your pets are there to greet you. There's so much more than the bullshit down here on planet stress and planet Earth. When you have this advanced information and you can move forward and heal and live a good life, it doesn't matter if someone really doesn't understand it yet, or if someone doesn't respect it yet, or if someone thinks whatever, with some medium guy, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. There's bigger things going on. There's angels watching over you. I've had angels watching over me, you guys. I've had angels watching over me. I remember being in some tricky times in my life, and 3 angels were by my bedside. And I know they're by yours too. I do. There's many times I shouldn't have even survived. Been through some things in my life, but I'm here because of angels. Because God was looking out, because the angels were there. And I'm still here, and I'm standing here with you guys. It's mind-blowing. I just want to say that. I don't say enough about the people who look after loved ones that are really sick. I know there's some good people and family members that are looking after loved ones, care so much. They do understand. They do understand what it's like. They see the suffering. They understand it. I do want to acknowledge that, by the way. I know I say all the time, it's like you don't know or understand unless you walked in somebody's shoes, but there are some people and family members that take care of their other family members, and they care, and they feel it, and they feel the pain, and they do understand. I want to acknowledge that, by the way, you guys. And maybe you know somebody, maybe you're somebody right now that understands that. I was talking about the other day, yesterday, I think it was, and Spirit of Compassion was talking about time and how time works and how we're up against the restraints of time and how we're under the law of time and the rule of time, and we're always faced with that all the time. There's a couple of things I didn't talk about, though, in that moment, is that any day you lost here on this earth because you lost it to having to take care of yourself, having to fight for your life, having to tend to your health or someone else, every day and every hour you lost comes back to you. And SOC told me that years ago. Because the time you lost is noted and calculated. It's added up by the angels and by supernatural forces. Because the time you lost was of the holiest time, the holiest hours. hours of your suffering, hours of your struggling, hours of you taking care of people who are sick, hours of feeling like maybe you're hopeless and you don't have the right healing information, no one understands you, you're not validated. Hours of all those hours are protected by God, and they're placed aside, and they're gifted back to you at some point, either in this lifetime or when you leave this lifetime, gifted back to you in some way, shape, or form, or given to a loved one. Either way, that time is not lost. You bank it. Because struggling and suffering is of the noblest. It's of the most holy. It is the most important part of existence. It's not a throwaway. It's not a loss. It's a gain. And what happens is when you're chronically sick and you've suffered and struggled, you're gaining, not losing. Critical to know. Spirit of Compassion has told me that and wanted me to tell you that tonight. It becomes a vault of struggle, a vault of everything you've been through. And it becomes the gold and the diamonds and the jewels of your life. It's not the diamond that you see at the jewelry store. It's much bigger and greater than that. Your suffering is much bigger than that. It's the Holy Grail. It is the true treasure, is your struggles and your suffering and everything you've gone through. It's your true treasure. And it's vaulted. And it's banked. And it's there for you with all the hours you've struggled, all the minutes you've suffered, the moments that you may know somebody that was on their hands and knees praying to God, wondering, how the hell am I going to heal? How am I going to get my life back? How am I going to go back to work? How am I going to live? All those minutes are all protected, are all sealed up and vaulted for you, safe. Nobody can mess with it. Nobody can touch it. No matter what you've been through, it's your legacy. They're your jewels. They're your soul's jewels. They're there for you when you leave here. They're even there for you here now. And they'll pop up when they pop up. When God and the angels say it's time and you need them. Nothing is lost. All is gained from everything you've done. Every single intention you put into healing yourself is banked and protected under the right of God. If you don't believe in God, then under the right of a creator, under the right of the universe. The universe is all you believe in. That's perfect. It's fine. Nothing wrong with that. And it's there for you.